to Tuesday's edition of the Regional News. U.S. President Donald Trump said that his administration would likely stop buying oil from Venezuela and was looking, quote-unquote, very strongly at a South American country. Quote-unquote, "It was a great country 20 years ago, and now it's a mess," Trump told reporters in the Oval Office hours after his inauguration. Quote-unquote, "We don't have to buy their oil. We have plenty of oil for ourselves." Trump's envoy for special missions, Richard Grenell, had earlier said he spoke with multiple officials in Venezuela and would begin meetings early Tuesday, days after the outgoing Biden administration imposed new sanctions on the government of President Nicolas Maduro. Grenell, who served as acting intelligence chief at the end of Trump's first term, also planned to meet with Venezuelan opposition officials in Washington on Tuesday. Since 2019, Venezuela's oil industry has been under U.S. sanctions designed to curb its oil income. However, Chevron has been allowed since 2022 to ship Venezuelan oil to the U.S. to recoup unpaid dividends from joint venture partners. During his campaign, Trump called Maduro a quote-unquote a dictator after he pursued a maximum pressure campaign against him during his first term from 2017 to 2021, including imposing harsh sanctions on the South American country and its oil industry. Former President Joe Biden briefly rolled back some of the Trump-era restrictions following electoral promises from Maduro, but then reinstated them, saying the Venezuelan leader had reneged on pledges for a fair democratic vote. Newly sworn-in President Donald Trump on Monday revoked the Biden administration's last-minute decision to remove Cuba from the U.S. list of state sponsors of terrorism. Just hours after his inauguration to his second term, Trump signed a so-called recession of then-President Joe Biden's January 14 move that would have lifted the island's designation as a terrorist-sponsoring nation. Trump's decision, among dozens of revocations of what the incoming White House deemed quote-unquote harmful order and actions by his Democratic predecessor, effectively keeps Cuba on a list that the Republican president himself placed Cuba on at the end of his first term in 2021. Biden's announcement last week, which was accompanied by Cuba's agreement to free more than 500 prisoners from its jails, appeared aimed at rolling back many of the sanctions put in place by Trump during his previous 4 years in office. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel responded on social media late yesterday, calling Trump's decision to revoke Biden's measures and quote-unquote act of mockery and abuse. Cuba, which has always steadfastly denied any support for terrorism and began releasing a small number of prisoners as part of a broader plan negotiated with the Vatican. But with Trump's decision, it was unclear whether those releases would continue. Removal of Cuba from the terrorism list would have eased related sanctions on an island already suffering a deep economic crisis. Newly sworn-in U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday he will declare illegal immigration at the U.S.-Mexico border a national emergency, send troops there, and ramp up deportations of criminal offenders. Outlining the crackdown in his inaugural address, Trump said he would invoke a 1798 wartime law known as the Alien Enemies Act to target foreign gang members in the U.S., a legal authority last used to detain non-citizens of Japanese, German, and Italian descent in internment camps during World War II. Trump also said he would designate criminal cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Shortly after the inauguration, U.S. border authorities said they had shut down outgoing President Joe Biden's CBP-1 legal entry program, which had allowed hundreds of thousands of migrants to enter the U.S. legally by scheduling an appointment on an app. Existing appointments were canceled according to the U.S. Custom and Border Protection. Trump, a Republican, recaptured the White House after promising to intensify border security and deport record numbers of migrants. While Trump criticized Democrat Biden for high level of illegal immigration during his presidency, migrants' arrests fell dramatically after Biden toughened his policies in June and as Mexico stepped up enforcement. Republicans say large-scale deportations are necessary after millions of immigrants crossed illegally during Biden's presidency. There were roughly 11 million immigrants in the U.S. illegally or with temporary status at the start of 2022, according to a U.S. government estimate, a figure that some analysts now placed at 13 million to 14 million. In several Mexican border cities, migrants saw their appointments on Biden's CBP-1 app canceled just after Trump took office. Some 280,000 people had been logging into the app daily to secure an appointment as of January 7. Thank you for watching. I am TIANA Cole.